What's up YouTube? Capital G here. Got some spicy flip-based action for you guys to check out. No crawlers in this one. We are going the Prediction Princess route. You guys know I am always sticking up for Prediction Princess as an archetype because I say even though it's not the best deck, it is still, in my opinion, one of the most fun decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! To play. I feel like most people don't even realize what Prediction Princess do. It's a flip-based ritual deck and it's a blast to play, man. And these plays are going to be ridiculous and pretty damn awesome at the same time. He's facing off against Prank Kids coming out in Hidden Summoners. That's obviously a new set in the TCG. By the time you guys see them or see this duel, the set will be released. But these are actually going to be kind of crazy, and you can see it's a flip-based strategy. Every monster in his hand except Rescue Cat is actually a flip monster, and Rescue Cat actually has some flip synergy in this deck, if you can believe it. So Rescue Kitty is going to be the first card summon, and that's going to get him 2 copies of Guard Dog. And I was kind of wondering what he was going to do with this, but he's actually going to go for the Subterror Link monster, and what that allows him to do is send Squamata to the deck so that he can set the Morphine Jar. Squamata can now send something like the Shadow Beast. It gets him a draw. He draws Preparation of Rites, pre-prep, sorry, and that allows him to get Terra Tray and the Prediction Ritual. Now he activates Pot of Desires and gets Pot of Taboo, or excuse me, Pot of the Forbidden. That's the TCG name. Pot of Taboo was the OCG name, which I kind of liked a little more. And this is a really good play, right? Because what happens is, if you use Forbidden to summon your Terra Tray, during the end phase, you can get your Forbidden back. And the thing about Pot of Forbidden is all the effects are based on ban cards. You know, Pot of Greed, draw 2 cards, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. That's for Geki. You can look at your opponent's hand and shuffle a card back into their deck. That's the Forceful Sentry. And you can activate those effects during your opponent's turn because she allows you to flip monsters that are face down, face up, and vice versa. So it's actually pretty damn good getting a Forceful Sentry during your opponent's turn, kind of like a Trap Death Shoot at that point. But he's going to go ahead and he's gonna, like, you know, Cap, let's just get new hands. He flips over Morphine Jar, and I was like, okay, that's pretty sick. Although his opponent does get a card out of it. You can see he's digging deeper into his deck, activates the Ritual Sanctuary, and then he just ends his turn. But this was a play that just blew my mind, right? So what he does is, instead of getting back Pot of the Forbidden, he decides to get back Guard Dog, right? Read this guy's effect. I was like, oh my god, how did I not know about this in Prediction Princess? It says, flip, your opponent cannot special summon for the rest of the turn. And keep in mind, as I just said, you can flip monsters that are face down with Terra Tray, as he's doing right now, during your opponent's turn. This means that he basically has Vanity's Emptiness for this one turn against his opponent, and since he can continue to flip this down and face up, his opponent can basically be locked out of special summoning for the entire duel. That was actually crazy. Well, I guess unless you get the card off the field. Now his opponent's trying to fight back. He's using the Bamboo Swords, but he just sets a card because he can't really special summon. But he gets rid of the lock. He gets rid of the lock by setting a Shadow Beast. And I was like, why would he do that? Although he does have the ability to simply get it back during the end phase. But I don't think that there's going to be another turn. Look at the amount of cards this guy has in his hand. This is a Prediction Princess Shadow deck, which is actually the way that I used to run it. Prediction Princess and Shadows. Card Destruction was not legal when I used to play it, which obviously makes it a lot more stupid. And now he can basically force his opponent's monster into attack mode, start going ham, activates El Shaddai Fusion during the battle phase, and he is not done. We got a Super Polymerization. He's going for the ban cards. He's bringing out the Construct, and actually, that was spicy because it allowed him to get Fairy Tale Snow in the graveyard. You saw that this is only his second turn, and clearly he has so many different monsters in his graveyard, and really cards in general, that now he can just summon Fairy Tale Snow. He hasn't even attacked with Construct yet, so obviously he clearly had enough damage on board to just kill his opponent, and even though he did give up his Terra Tray, which I personally would not have done, he was attempting to go for a game, so I can kind of understand. And he really kind of needed to win this turn, because you can see he only had like 3 cards left in his deck, and his Spellbook of Secrets probably wouldn't have had any targets at that point. He would have had 2 copies of Spellbook of Secrets, so I think that he basically had to like win that turn. But I think that that Terra Tray lock with Guard Dog, I don't know why I never knew that that was a thing, but that is actually pretty ridiculous. Let's pause for 1 second and see what this deck looks like. Alright, so this is what the deck looks like on paper. Obviously, there is a huge Shadow lineup. The Shadows work with cards like Card Destruction, plus he's running Shadow Fusion and El Shadow Fusion. In general, you can also use these for ritual summoning, and they'll activate. You can send them straight to the graveyard with the Subterror Link monster. So I think that Shadows and Prediction Princess have always just had a really nice relationship, and especially because Terra Tray is actually level 9, which is kind of a difficult, like, it's a difficult level to ritual ritual with, but that works really well with Beast because Beast is 5, and then you can use like your Squamata or your Dragon as 4, and you basically can, you know, summon those monsters back during your turn and activate them at the same time. Good thing that Pot of the Forbidden is level 9. That's what kind of just makes Prediction Princess, the fact that you can use this to summon Terra Tray and then revive it back from the graveyard. Rescue Cat is in here, not just because you can actually use it with the guard dog, but didn't even realize this, Whirlwind Weasel is another card that you can get, and this is another card that can kind of lock your opponent out. He drew this in his opening hand, so he wasn't able to do it, but this is a card that says it's a flip effect. Your opponent cannot activate any spell or trap cards for the rest of the turn. I feel like this came out during 5Ds, if I'm not mistaken. Like, people used to sometimes splash this in like Synchro Cat as just another way of like disrupting their opponent, but you can flip this during your opponent's turn because of Terra Tray, and then your opponent basically has a cold wave on them. it's like what exactly are you going to do? That's pretty damn, you know, it's troublesome to have to play your turn with only monster effects. That's a little bit of an issue. Maybe a deck like Ultra, guys, can just set a whole bunch of cards, or Paleozoic, but most decks in Yu-Gi-Oh want to be able to activate some spells and traps. When it comes to the spells and traps, mainly because it is a ritual deck, it's going to be a whole lot of spells. Now, I don't necessarily agree with this spellbook engine because I can understand maybe 2-1, like 2 copies of secrets and then like 1 copy of knowledge. Obviously, you know, all the monsters or all the shadows are like spellcasters, so I kind of get it. And, you know, there's so many monsters in this deck that are really good, you know, using them with Spellbook of Judgment, or excuse me, Spellbook of Knowledge. My God, I'm getting my spellbooks mixed up. Knowledge to just draw deeper into your deck. And I feel like the copies though is just a little overkill, because you saw in the later parts of the duel, which was only his second turn, he had like a dead secrets in his hand, and you know, the top card of his deck is secrets. But I guess if you're turboing through, then you only are playing the entire engine just to resolve this card in your first turn, like really consistently. Now, when Shadow Construct ever comes off the ban list, this will obviously be a much better deck, because we did see him summon Shikanaga, but Super Polymerization being legal in the TCG is so good with Shadows, because as long as you have one Shadow monster on your field, then you can basically go into the entire archetype, because you have one for every single attribute. So, you know, Shadow Construct, if she comes off the ban list, will be a major power up to a deck like this. The only card you probably wouldn't summon would be Anoitillus, because I don't see any water monsters in here, but I guess maybe you could say the same thing about Grisha. That's a fire monster, same deal. But anyways, I think it's a pretty fun deck, and it looks pretty interesting. So whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Turn on that notification bell for daily videos, and check out these other videos I know you'll enjoy.